Leading a great discussion involves asking good questions. So let me give you some tips on asking good questions that will lead to a good discussion. So here's the first thing you do. You get familiar with whatever discussion guide you're using. You read through all the material, you read through the questions, you ask the questions out loud, even by yourself, so that you can hear how they sound. You look through the questions and edit them if necessary. Not all questions are great, even if they're in a booklet, so you might need to choose the questions that stay and the questions that go. So get familiar with the material. Well, the next thing you do is you make sure that you ask open-ended questions, not close-ended questions. A close-ended question would be like this: is God good? That's a yes or no answer. An open-ended question would be, if God is good, why is there so much evil in the world? Or why is the world so broken? Now, there's a question that could last for hours, if not days, maybe even a lifetime. A good open-ended question is like that. So ask open-ended questions. For those of us who've been reared on inductive Bible study technique, we're going to also need to resist the temptation to ask too many observation questions. An observation question would be like this. In the text where it's recorded that Jesus wept, an observation question might be, who wept? Well, Jesus. Or what did Jesus do? He wept. Now, that's a good question for home inductive Bible study type of stuff by yourself. But if you're trying to lead a discussion that way, it's going to be really slow going and awkward. Well, you also need to resist the temptation to go fishing for just the right answer. And we've all been in groups like that. Maybe it's a classroom setting where the teacher asked a question, and as everybody replied, they just kind of nodded and went, until Betty Sue replied, and then balloons were released, a whistle was blown, and there was great celebration because she got the right answer. And what did it communicate? It communicated that, well, all the other answers were the wrong answer. And nobody wants to give the wrong answer. And if you go fishing for the right answer and you celebrate when someone says what you think should be said, what will end up happening is everybody else will close down in the group and well, they won't participate in the discussion. So don't go fishing for the right answer. And finally, don't answer your own questions. As you ask a question, if there's a pause and it seems awkward, then ask the question again, or ask it in a slightly different way, or ask, did that make sense? But what you'll also communicate is, I'm not answering this. Because in church, let's face it, most of the time someone might ask a question, but we don't actually get a chance to respond. But in a group, that's very different. But people have been trained to think, in church, I don't respond. I'll just wait for the right answer. And what you're saying by waiting is, I'm not going to answer this. The whole point of this discussion is I ask some questions, and then we all interact with it. So resist that temptation to answer your own question. And if you do those things, if you ask questions in that spirit, you will end up with a great discussion.